We have installed that particular Redux toolkit and we were importing it. Then we were using something called as create slice. So this create slice method will basically take a name of this slice that has to get created. It will also take the initial data. In the older approach, we were keeping the initial data separately in an object. But in Redux Toolkit, you will directly give the initial data to this create slice. Now, how to create the reducers? So if you want to create reducers normally, you were creating the functions separately. But here you will do, you will just create one key with the name reducers and you will create how many ever reducers you basically want. Perfect. Now, you need not create actions. Actions will be automatically created or it will be automatically generated. If you are using Redux Toolkit, then how to actually get the actions? Remember, this line we wrote to check the proof. So counter slice is the variable which is pointing to everything. So from that, I will access one key with the name actions. But unfortunately, we don't have anything like actions because I told you actions will be internally created. So whenever we were printing it, we came to know increment and decrement was the key. And those two keys we have used it. That's it. As simple as that. Now, finally, we have to create a Redux store. So if you want to create a Redux store, you will basically use one function with the name configure store. To this configure store function, you will basically pass one object. In that object, you will create the reducer. And how many reducers we need to connect, students? Increment and decrement. So all the reducers which are there in the counter slice, you can access those reducers by using something called as counter slice dot reducer. So this dot reducer property will help you to access all the required reducers, and those reducers, I'm just creating it by giving one key. The name of the key is counter reducer. That's it. So this is how you will create the reducer. And first time when I try to get the data present in my counter store by using get state function, so it should give the initial count as 0. Save it. Let me run it once. Node Redux toolkit.js. Click enter. You see, initially the data is 0. Now what I need to do, students, if the incrementation and the decrementation has to be done, now how should I implement? Now how should I do it? Very simple. Students, tell me if you want to perform increment operation or if increment operation has to be performed, that particular related to increment operation, that particular function is present with which key?
Increment.
So what we will do, we will just tell counter slice dot same thing. Sorry, counter store dot. We will use dispatch function. Now I want to dispatch something called as increment. Students, now many will think whenever I tell increment function or whenever I call increment function, don't think this increment function will be directly called. No. So whenever you tell increment function, remember for this action, for this reducer, what is the action? Counter slash increment. For this, what is the action? Counter slash decrement. So now tell me, students, whenever I tell increment, can you guess? Is it directly calling the reducer function or it's calling something else? Can you at least guess?
It's calling action, I think.
But this is the name of the action, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But whenever you are calling here, it should be an action function, yes or no?
Yes.
Then this increment is referring to what? Because we don't have an action function which is there. Now 100% if I run it will work. Notice I will tell 3 times. So 3 times it will get incremented. Notice. Okay, after incrementing, I have to get the data and print it using getState to see the latest result. Working?
Yes.
Even decrement also will work. So after increment, maybe I will decrement it once. See, 3 times you were incremented. So it was 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 got printed. Now my question is, what does that increment and decrement function refer to? Is it directly referring to this? In the code only you have the answer. Notice. In the code
Counter
only there is
reducer.
an answer.
Yes.
Counter reducer, right?
No. Not that.
Actions, because line number 22.
Yes. Students, see line number 22.
Yes.
Students, tell me dot action will create how many actions for us?
2.
Which are those 2 actions? Yesterday I have printed and showed you. So this is the first action, comma, next line. This is the second action. So these are the 2 actions that will be created. Perfect. Now, the first action, if you remember, it was present in which key?
Increment.
Second action, if you remember, it was present with which key?
Decrement.
Students, whenever you tell increment, you are referring to that corresponding action. So when you tell decrement, you are referring to that particular action. Now, students, whenever you tell increment parenthesis, what is the meaning? Clearly notice. So whenever you tell increment parenthesis, the meaning is very simple. You need not get too much confused. Tell me increment parenthesis. Increment is referring to which action?
Increment.
In increment parenthesis, increment is referring to which action?
Increment.
Students,
Counter slash
increment is referring to
increment.
this action, na?
Yes.
Yes. Now tell me, if increment is referring to this action is referring to which function out of the 2? The first or the second reducer?
First reducer.
So it means this is related to this, that function reducer. So if you tell increment means this action, because we got it from here, and this action on the top, we know it is connected to this increment key along with a function. So what will happen? In the next line, you will tell increment parenthesis. So when you tell increment, this connection will be established. when you tell increment parenthesis, whatever the function you got finally, after tracing this entire logic, that particular function will execute because of that increment operation is happening whenever you try to call increment function. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
Students, understood the flow? Should I tell it again?
Sir, can you please repeat, please?
Very simple. My question was, when I tell increment parenthesis, decrement parenthesis, this increment function and decrement function, it is referring to exactly which? That is what I have asked the question, yes or no?
Yes.
Do not think whenever I tell increment function, this increment which contains a function that will get executed. Or when I tell decrement function, do not tell this which is there here will directly execute. No, there will be a connection that will be established. What is that connection? So the meaning of this line, let's understand it. I will keep it here. In this, increment function is referring to what? That is my question. Very simple. First, instead of taking increment function, I will take only increment. Tell me, in yesterday's class, increment was referring to which action?
Counter/increment.
You remember everyone, students?
Yes, sir.
So increment was referring to counter/increment. And that counter/increment is corresponding to which function?
Increment key.
First function or second function?
First function. Increment
The
key.
first function. So what will happen? Whenever you tell increment parenthesis, the function which is present with this action, that function will get executed. Okay, na?
Yeah, got it.
Same way, we are calling decrement parenthesis. Tell me, I am telling decrement parenthesis. Tell me, decrement is referring to which action?
Counter/decrement.
So, when you tell parenthesis, it means you're calling a function. So the function present with this will get executed. So because of that, the state is getting increased. So the connection is established to these functions. How? Via
221.
these things. Okay, na?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Others, this is how you need to work with Redux Toolkit. Students, do not make it too much complicated. It's simple itself. You need not worry too much. Maybe the syntax might be new. That is what you might think. But otherwise, the syntax will be simple itself.
Sir,
Ah,
I'm not getting here. Sir, is it necessary to destruct the entire reducers?
if you destructure the actions you are telling,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
if you're see, once what I will do na, I will comment of this line. I'll just print it console.log counter/actions. I will print it. So now these things will not work. I will comment it. Now let me run it. How many actions will be created? We can see. Students, tell me. One action got created. What is the type? What is the name of that action?
Counter/increment.
What is that one more action?
Counter/decrement.
Tell me, the first action is present with which key?
Increment.
The second action is present with which key?
Decrement.
And these are actually the functions. Can you see here?
Yes, sir.
These are actually the functions, yes or no? So
Yes.
that will internally call these things and it will execute the logic. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the reason we are destructuring increment and decrement. So that when we destructure increment and decrement, we can call that increment. See, increment and decrement, these are the keys, but they are the functions. Yes or no? So whenever I tell increment parenthesis, this function will get executed. Inside this function, it is belonging to which action?
Counter plus increment.
Then that corresponding reducer will get executed. Because of that, the state will get updated. Now, next, whenever I tell decrement, again, decrement key, it's having a function. So that function will get executed. If that function is getting executed, that function is associated with which action?
Decrement.
Counter slash decrement. So this is the function which is associated with counter slash decrement. This will automatically get executed. Okay, na?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. But if you're not destructuring like this, increment and decrement, you cannot use it like this. Yes or no? If you don't use it like this, then this reducer logic will never get executed. Yes or no?
Yes.
That is the reason. It's simple itself. It's not too much complex. Others, any questions anybody have?
So it's like a syntax, right, sir? For the line 22, we need to follow that definitely.
That's the syntax. Yes, that is fixed.
Okay.
Students, you need not even print it. Very simple. What are the reducer names?
Increment and decrement.
Same thing will be given for the action names. You need not worry too much. Okay.
Yes.
These are the action functions. If you tell increment, decrement, so it's like this. This line will be converted to this line. So function increment, which will return type is counter slash increment. Instead of we writing like this manually in the old approach, so this function along with the action will be automatically generated by this particular line. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, this is the significance of React Toolkit.
Yes. Everywhere you go, if you find the code, this is the toolkit that they would be using it.
Okay.
Because actions and all are getting reduced now. So much of boilerplate code is getting reduced. Same thing we have seen yesterday in the official documentation to basically reduce a lot of boilerplate code. Means some basic code. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
Now, my question for you people is, students, tell me, initial data, I gave it as what here?
0.
0. Now, let me run it. Oh, we are not printing anything. So I think 2 times increment, 1 time decrement. Students, we are getting 1 as the final output. That is present with which key?
Counter reducer.
Why it's present with counter reducer? Because all the reducers are only doing the operation. All the reducers, you are getting it. Attaching to which key?
Counter reducer.
So whenever it's telling counter reducer, it means it can either be increment or decrement or both. Because of that, you got the output as 1. Okay.
Yes.
But if you want, you can also do like this. Instead of giving directly 0, you can give a object. In the object, you can give the count as 0. Okay. This would be the best, I guess, instead of directly telling 0 to initial data. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, our count is in which parameter? Sorry, our value is in which parameter?
Count.
Now, how to access it? Should I directly tell state or should I tell state.count? A state parameter will contain the entire
Yes.
initial data.
Correct.
In that initial data, I need to access what? Which key?
Count.
State.
State.count.
See, state contains this entire thing which is given to initial data. So basically, state contains this entire thing. Whatever is there with initial data, that will be given to state. Now I want to access 0 here. So I can tell +1. So if I want to tell 0, this is state dot.
1.
If I tell state.count, that is when I will access 0. Yes or no? Similarly, here also I need to access the count so that I can decrement. So I have to tell state dot again count. Now clear everything. Now what is the output we are getting?
Not a number.
Is it working? No. Anywhere, any change I have to do still. Can you clearly tell me? Anywhere, any change is pending.
The function will accept the parameter as state only. That do not accept the state dot count. That is
Huh?
correct.
Anywhere, any change I have to do still. So inside this, let me just print that state value inside these two functions. When I try to print state, you have some data which is getting printed, but you can also see count as 0, right?
Yes.
That is present with which key?
Base.
Shall we tell base underscore dot base underscore? It's giving you what? Undefined. No, it's not directly present over there. It's inside some other objects. But state dot count, do you think that's really valid?
Or inside the brackets,
Ah,
evaluating.
Inside the brackets means?
I mean, put the state dot count plus 1 inside the flower brackets and check.
Here,
Not that one, sir. 11th statement.
like this.
Yeah, not sure. Let's check.
No, this is not a syntax. You will use that in React, na?
Okay.
Flower brackets for evaluation in React you will use, na? But this is only Redux we are working, right? Getting the point?
Yes,
I
sir.
think he means by using spread operator dot state comma then count colon state dot count plus 1. I think that is
Here you are telling, ah?
yeah.
But this
at least it will
also
get
will
the
work na
initial
normally.
for one time.
Or return this in count colon inside flower brackets count colon this value. Yeah, and entire thing in flower.
Students, will this work? Means you are returning a new object because now the data is in object format. So you are returning a new object where you are updating that count key by getting the old value, adding plus 1. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now will it work? But before I run, is the logic clear? See, earlier we were not telling flower bracket because earlier we were updating the data directly like 0. 0 we were replacing with number. So we were telling directly state plus count. State we were telling state plus 1. But now whatever the new data you want to return, this new data, is it a normal data or an object?
It's an object.
In that object, for which key you have to basically update the data?
Count key.
So I'm returning that count which contains the new data. Either it will be from an increment reducer or either it will be from a decrement reducer. So both the reducers will take the responsibility to return a object so that this entire object will be returned by a new object. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one more question. If I run, will it work or not, students?
Not sure, sir. Let's check. Mm.
In the bottom, can you see?
Yeah. One.
So we will just remove this. Students, same thing only we have done in the older approach. We know, see, 2 times I incrementing, 1 time if I decrement, what is the new value?
1.
That 1 is getting printed. Very simple, students. See, reducer will always update the data in the pattern, how it will be kept in the Redux store. So initially, this is the initial data which will be kept as it is inside the Redux store. So inside the Redux store, this particular data will be kept like this. So whenever any reducer is trying to update the data, it has to return the new data in the same format, right?
Yes.
What we did, we were just telling like this. Means we are just returning the object or we are just returning the integer.
Integer only.
Tell me, if only integer is getting returned, the object store behavior only will change. Where the data which is in this format, it will be just becoming like 1. Which is not correct. How the data is kept in the Redux store, in the same way we will normally update the data. Yes. So that is the approach we need to follow. Tell me, students, is this a new approach or we were doing it even in previous examples as well when we were working with older approaches? We know in what format the data is there in the Redux store. In the same format we were returning until now. Whenever we were working with Redux or whenever we were working with Redux and React together, in the same format we were returning how the data was in the Redux store. Yes or no?
Yes.
Anywhere did we write the reducer logic in such a manner that that reducer will return the new data in the Redux store where the format is completely different from the initial data? Did we implement anywhere in such kind of manner? No, did we implement, students?
No.
No. How the data is kept in the Redux store in the same format, even every reducer should be returning the data. That's it. Now I think this is clear. Sir, I want to store multiple data. Not a problem. You tell comma. You can tell number of ice creams. If you remember ice creams application we were developing, it's 20. Number of cakes, that is basically 10. So like this, all the details you need to make sure it will be a part of this initial state. Because that is the key which will basically hold the entire data. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, anybody wanted to ask any questions on this?
Sir,
Ah,
so if I want to increase the number of ice creams, so in the 10th statement, I will put comma and put count, number of ice creams colon state dot number of ice creams
comma,
plus one. Yeah.
number of ice creams colon. You will tell state dot number of ice creams. You will tell plus 10 like that or plus.
Okay.
Whereas cake count you should not modify.
Yeah, got it.
Ice creams you should not modify. You have to keep the 2 keys as it is and update only this. Okay, na?
Yes, sir.
Do not forget to update the remaining ones. Do not update only cakes. If you update only cakes in the entire Redux store, initially there were 3 details: count, number of ice creams, and number of cakes.
Hmm.
If you try to return only this, now only the cakes will be there in the Redux store. The rest remaining 2 key value pairs will be removed. Yes or no?
Correct.
Means the data is saved in the Redux store, or the data is lost.
Data will be lost. Only the cakes will be.
Yes, the latest one will be present, but the old data will be lost now because some key value pairs you are using it. So that is the reason whenever we are trying to update the data, we have to keep the old data as it is Only the required data we have to update. Okay.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. Others, anybody have any other question? Got an idea, right, students, how to work with Redux Toolkit?
Yes, sir. Okay, this is why we use multiple reducers for each item.
I didn't get that point.
Like before you are updating this state of the two items in a single return statement,
Ah,
so that will affect the another one also.
ah,
To tackle that, we use multiple reducers for each item, like one reducer for ice cream, one reducer for cake.
ah. So that one fellow will take that particular responsibility itself.
Okay.
Okay. Others, any other? Now, same way you can connect with, say, students, this is the only change in Redux. But React code, will there be any change?
No.
No, it's the same thing. Just that Redux code you have to replace with the latest one. That's it. That is the only change. So hope all of you have got clarity on this. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's go back and spend time on routing. Students, what is routing? Somewhere I have given some introduction regarding routing. Any idea like what do you understand by routing? When we were developing trip application, I have told you.
Moving from one page to another page.
Connecting multiple pages in your application through links or navigating between the pages is only called as what?
Routing.
Routing. Students, there are so many hooks. There are so many functions. Use params function, use the search params function, use navigate, child component, parent component, nested routing. There are so many complexities we have. So we have to explore all those things. What we learned was just a basic routing. What we learned was just a basic routing. Now we have to start digging into the advanced nested routing, child, parent, and so many hooks which are connected with that. So let's quickly start exploring with those concepts. You remember what is the library we were using it to work with routing?
React router. Router DOM.
Perfect. React router DOM. Oh, what is this issue? I don't know while creating the React project from so many days. Okay, maybe I'll just duplicate the first app itself then. I don't know why it's not getting created, the React application. During the session time only, I will get it. Like other time, it's not like I will not get it. Other time, I will not remember during the daytime if I want to fix it. Right click, rename, routing. This is very interesting. So many new things you will encounter and so many challenging things also will be there. Perfect. Now everyone listen to this. So we have a app component. Maybe we will create one more component and write in that. Why everything inside this single component itself? Or you can also write it, not a problem. So first, let's get inside this particular project and open the terminal. Let me install React Router DOM. So that is a library which will basically help us to implement this routing concept. So I would just tell npm install So what is the name of the library I need to install? The name of the library I want to install is React Router DOM. Now, what is the scenario we want to develop? Very simple. So this is the kind of the scenario that we will be developing it.